Hello, this video will discuss evaluating online sources. Much of the information from this presentation is available at the website shown on the slide, so you may want to visit it to review the information or to use as a reference. As you probably know, there's a lot of information available electronically, and that's great because it means we can generally find things quickly and easily. However, we must be careful to make sure that the information we find and use is accurate and appropriate. If it's on the internet, it must be true. Hopefully this picture seems a little absurd to you, and that's the point. You most certainly can't believe everything you find on the internet. When looking for information on the internet, you must use critical thinking and common sense. When you were younger, you probably learned not to believe everything that you hear. The same sentiment is true for information on the internet. It's okay to be skeptical. You should consider the source and look at the details. In other words, evaluate. And we're going to talk about how to do that. Briefly, let's talk about terminology. The internet is a network that allows computers to communicate with one another. The World Wide Web is just one of the technologies available on the internet. We often use the two terms interchangeably, but really they're not. The World Wide Web is made up of web pages and websites. It's relatively easy to publish a website. With print media, the publisher serves as somewhat of a gatekeeper, and there isn't a comparable position with web media. Anyone can post anything. Let's take a look at a website. Here you'll see the address, or the URL, which stands for Universal Resource Locator. The URL can tell us a lot about the page. You want to look specifically at the domain. So .com is for commercial sites, .org is for nonprofit organizations, .edu is for educational institutions, and .gov is for government agencies. In general, .edu and .gov sites tend to be more reliable. So what we're looking at here is the homepage for the American Nurses Association. This is their website, and there are several web pages within it. These pages have information about the organization and about nursing in general. The page we see here, though, has a journal article. This article was published in a print journal, the Journal for Nurse Practitioners, but the publishers have also made a copy available on the web for convenience. So you want to be aware of these sorts of differences as you look at websites. How will we evaluate the resources found on the web? There are several criteria to consider. You want to look at the accuracy and reliability, that is, the content of the site. Are facts given, and are they accurate? Can you verify them in another source? Are the facts documented, and is there a reference list, a works cited, or a bibliography? Is there objectivity, consistency, and fairness throughout? And is the information comprehensive? You'll also want to look at the authority and credibility of the site. So who wrote the page? And is this person's contact information available? Are the author's qualifications and or credentials listed? And is this person qualified to write this document? So they may have some qualifications, but not in the area of what they're writing about. Who or what organization or institution is responsible for the site? Is there a sponsoring organization or association? Currency and timeliness are also important. Is there a date on the page? And do the links work? If a lot of the links are broken, that's usually a sign that the page has been neglected for a while. Also, keep in mind that a recent date does not necessarily mean current information. They could have fixed a typo or something, and that would show an update date, which would be current, but that doesn't mean they changed the information. So some information will age more quickly than others, so that is, you'll have to make a judgment as to whether or not what you're reading is current. You also want to look at the relevance and appropriateness. Is the information relevant and informative? Is it detailed? Is it free of grammatical and spelling errors? Free of offensive and vulgar language? Finally, think about the purpose and intended audience. What's the purpose of the site? Are they trying to educate, advocate, or is it a commerce site? Are they trying to sell something? Who's the target audience? Professionals, consumers, maybe both? Is the language used appropriate for the target audience? So do they use jargon that only professionals would understand, or is it written at the consumer level? Also, don't forget about bias. What are the goals and objectives of the site? And is there a particular point of view? You want to look to see if there's advertising, and can the authors benefit somehow by providing less than accurate information? Also think about conflict of interest and then any evidence of favoritism or prejudice. To remember these criteria quickly, you might want to use one of these mnemonics. A mnemonic is a device for helping you remember something. So maybe you can't remember timeliness, reliability, authority, and purpose, but you can remember it's a trap, and you'll think of those 4 things. So there are several listed here. You can use whichever one works best for you. One thing you can do to help make sure you're using good sources is to get better search results from the beginning. So you can use very specific terms such as directory or database or facts. You can use your operators like and, or, and not, or other special functions of the search engine to narrow your search. Also, there are ways that you can find out who owns or maintains a site. So if you go to whois.domaintools.com, you can see who owns the site to see if that matches up with the information they're giving. Also, at times you may need health information that is made for consumers. So in this case, it's best to use a trusted site, such as the ones I have listed here, rather than just doing an internet search. Links from this presentation, as well as further information, will be available at the URL shown on the screen, frontier.libguides.com/evaluation. You can also call the library at the number shown if you have further questions. Many thanks to Dr. Rebecca Barroso, whose work this presentation was based on, and to many other librarians who have shared their work in this area.